Steering wheel, somebody tell him to give it to me.
There's something loose between my legs.
I don't know. Let go!
I'm heavier than a freaking boat.
Nothing he's going to say can make that any better.
Yeah, nobody.
No more radio for the rest of the race.
I'm going home.
Hello and welcome to DRS FC, an F1 podcast by soccer nerds. I'm a soccer nerd. I'm André Carlisle, and I'm here with two other soccer nerds. Donald, how are you?
We promised you the real Miami, and we got the real Miami. I'm so excited. It was chaos.
I cannot believe it hadn't rained at a Miami Grand Prix since ever. And now people see in case you forgot, Miami is in Florida.
I will tell you that they were, I have to give these guys a little bit of flack here because I have to drive in that shit all the time. And I didn't complain. I didn't have red flags that could just stop traffic. I would have loved that in Miami, but no, they get the red flags and everything.
Just gonna have to take your corners a little tighter, You just got to get shave some tents down, and maybe you can get on the grid, Kyle, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm starting to think. You think Oscar and Lando would have had time to go to Tootsie's and come back and still be pretty far ahead of everyone else in the races? Because that's what it felt like.
Look, if they did a, you know what? There was a thing there with a double stack pit stop that I'm not going to go. I'm just going to leave it.
My God.
Leave it.
It was a good double stack.
we're gonna get canceled. Wow, Tootsie's reference right off the top. Listen to the preview if you want to know how that factors into everything.
Soft tires.
But, there you go. It was a wild race. It was like the entire weekend was wild as well. This was a sprint weekend as well, so we had two qualifyings, two main races, extremely fun. Before I talk about any of that, though, I feel like we have to start in a fairly obvious place. The driver's parade. When they put them in Lego cars, and just it was extremely hilarious to see these grown men just become 9-year-old boys. As a former boy, I don't know what it is, but when you're in something like that, your brain just tells you, I wonder if I can break it. And they definitely did try to break those cars. They crashed into each other. It was just hilarious to see these dudes act like absolute children.
It was great because you could just see how happy everyone was. And I think that was the biggest thing. Most of these parades, it's you're waving, maybe there's some, but it was everyone enjoyed it. Even the ones that didn't drive the cars, Lewis didn't drive, but he was recording. And it was you had Max and Yuki. It was very fun chaos. And at least, yes, there was a lot of crashing, and I laughed because Max was they're gonna have to clean all those Legos up. Good luck to them.
We were all roughly the age of being Toys R Us kids. That was a Toys R Us kid moment. It sent me Lewis cackling at just everything, just sitting in a backseat of a car that's going quite clearly 10 miles an hour. And just cackling at all of the chaos that was ensuing. It was a precursor for the weekend, which they probably didn't know at the time. But first of all, Lego at DRS FC Pod, we would like to sample some of these cars. We could do it in the streets of DC, Andre, you and I, outside the F1 arcade. That would be real dangerous. That'd be cool. It would also really, really put us in jail because they would tie up traffic with all those Legos. But we would love to try that. It seemed like a lot of fun.
It is hilarious to see those dudes who drive around at 200 miles an hour be ecstatic at something that's going 15 miles an hour. It was so funny.
I was going to say, it was one of those, remember those Jeeps that you would get when you were a kid and you would drive around in those? That's what I felt
Power
like.
Wheels.
It was those Power Wheels. That's what it felt like, I'm sure, to all of them, to be able to drive that around.
Yeah, it was tremendous. Definitely go check out the video. I'm going to try and remember to drop it in the show notes because Lewis was just absolutely cackling hysterically. Was the highlight of his weekend, perhaps, at least after the sprint race when he made a great call. In fact, should we just talk about the sprint real quick? Because, it did precede the main event as it always does. And Kimi Antonelli got his first pole, which was just incredible to see. Love seeing that from the young kid. And during the race, he also got a bit of a baptism by fire.
Yeah. Well, first of all, hats off to Kimi. Kimi set an F1 record. He's the youngest person to ever get a pole position in any sprint or F1 qualification. So the fact that he was able to do that, simply incredible. And it came out of nowhere, right? Like he was kind of middling, like what, 7th or 8th. And everyone's like, okay, that's about where he's supposed to be at. Then all of a sudden he just had one burst of lightning kind of lap. And it was right after I think Verstappen had just barely took it from Piastri, or it was vice versa. And then all of a sudden it was Antonelli, like, oh, and Antonelli sets the record, like sets the track. Like, what? And you could tell that they were shocked at that as other cars kept going by and still being slightly underneath him. And so when he finally, I think he was kind of cool, maybe a little too cool when he received the word. He was like, P1, he's like, great, that's good, guys. Thanks for the hard work. I would have been out the car, would have been running around it, would have been just like doing donuts in the middle of the lane, doing something. But it was great from him.
It was funny because, yeah, like in Q2, like he was doing okay, but it's not like he was beating people. Like he was still behind Oscar. He was still behind Lando. He's still behind everyone. And then you get even Q1, it was kind of the same thing. It's like, all right, he's hovering, maybe like a third, fourth is attainable. And then all of a sudden it was like, yeah, he got poles. Like, what? And it was like by a decent amount too against both the McLaren. So then it was eyebrow raising. I was like, oh. He didn't just like squeak by like 100th of a second. Like it was a good half a tenth, and that is something considering how much Max can get out of his car. And we saw that in qualifying for the main race, and we see with the McLarens and how fast they are, and it was significantly better than George. So it's kind of like, oh, there's something there. Unfortunately, he learned the hard way of some of the lessons, but the fact that he is doing this young and this quickly there's a reason why he got all this hype. And that's one of those examples where you look back and you're like, yeah, this kid's special.
Yeah, I also love you. Donald, you said you'd be doing donuts and everything. I respect Kimi for just like keeping it calm. He's like, I'm a racing driver. This is what I do. But he did show a lot of inexperience post qualifying session when he got out of the car and had no idea where to go. The race director was like,
they're like, yo, you first,
back
you
here,
go.
like you're on pole, so we would like to talk to you. Number one, congratulations. Like you don't just go back and like take a shower.
Like you got media stuff to do now. Like you get back here, come here.
You have responsibilities. Please come back. So yeah, that was amazing. But then yeah, he did learn lessons in the race, which I loved, by the way, his reaction. So he asked about 2 incidents. I can't remember the first one, but he asked about the incident with, on lap 1, which I turned to technically turn 1. It was 1,
Piastri. Yeah, Piastri, I think.
With Piastri going at him. And he said in real time, oh, he pushed me off. It was a little bit of a dive, if we're relating things to soccer. He was just like, oh my God, I can't go. I'm off the track. And I was like, Kimi, it's not going to be that easy at this level, my guy. But I do love his reaction when he asked his engineer, hey, what's the update on this? What happened? And they told him, oh, no further investigation. He didn't get mad or anything. He just said, good to know. That I think is really key because he's just he's doing nothing but learning, and he just like memory bank, he just got a wrinkle in the brain. Like, okay, got that knowledge.
Unlike some other people we know, like, first of all, congratulations, Max, you're a dad. Congratulations. That's actually really cool. You should not be a tattletale. You should not be teaching your kid that. But all weekend, right, we heard him kind of go, this happened, or this guy did this, or we should investigate that. And Kimi was just like, oh, that's not a foul? Noted. Okay. File that away. And I think next time he knows about some of the things that he can or can't do in that, in that particular situation, if he comes up on that again. Because like he said, he was like, starting at the front is something that he needs to get used to. And I noted that where I was like, okay, kid, like, he's like, this ain't the last time I'm going to be sitting in that one spot. And so I have to learn how to deal with that and against these drivers. And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, and I think it was also like he asked about the Oscar thing after the whole pit lane incident where Max crashed into him. And then it was kind of like, okay, what's going on with this? It's like, Max has been given a penalty. You're like, we got that. It's like, okay, what about this incident with Oscar? It's like, nope, that one is just racing. And it was kind of like a good thing. It was like, all right, I'm going to know when I'm in this position again. It's a matter of when, not if. I'll make sure to have more elbows out because Oscar did have a better start to him. And Oscar did get to the spot. It was kind of one of those, welcome to Formula One moments where it wasn't necessarily, it was an experience, but it was also just, you're going against a guy that's leading the championship. Like, you're going against probably the best driver right now, and you are not used to having to be in these starts and get to these corners before someone. It's kind of more of a, oh, you're in this like little pack and you're just trying to make sure you're not like crashing, get to your position early. So I think it is, I mean, the inexperience, but at the same time, it's going to happen, and better to have it happen in a sprint race than in the feature race when you're in like pole position.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I mean, I think best driver car combination for me, it's Oscar. I think like that McLaren car, and we saw it this weekend. Like, it is outrageous. Like the gaps are like old school, reminiscence of old school F1, or I guess just Max Red Bull dominant days, which weren't that long ago.
But
say,
yeah,
or
Lewis.
Yeah,
just Lewis 2020
way out in front. But I did want to talk about that Max Verstappen thing, which I don't put on him, it put on his team. There's something going on with Red Bull's sloppiness now. Like, I know they've lost a lot of people, and so you do expect things to change, but I didn't expect it to be evident so quickly. Like, we saw their pit stop issues. The light thing that was just broken, didn't work, and so they were having long pit stops. And then in this one, they tell him to go, even though Kimi comes in right behind him and is trying to go to his pit box, which is right by, because of where they finished in the constructors now, it's right by Mercedes, and he wasn't able to make it and actually ended up shattering pieces of his front wing on Kimi's like rear tires, and Kimi got a little bit of damage. But I got also give Kimi a big shout out. That could have been really dangerous. If he still tries to make his pit stop, he's going to plow into at least like a couple of his mechanics, or like, it's going to be a problem, or the car will spin. There's something, but he felt the contact and said, whoop, nope, not going to do that. And then kept on going and had to pit on the next lap, which honestly feels a little bit like the punishment for that, given that it messed up Kimi's, like Kimi basically got a drive-through penalty. Like, that's pretty much what it was. And he didn't do anything but get hit. They might need to review some of these things, because that really, like, whatever penalty they gave Max, it didn't have the same cost as what Kimi had to endure when he was the one that was hit.
The other thing is, we talked about Antonelli noting things in his mind. The very next day in the actual Grand Prix, he had a similar situation where he was the driver that was about to be released. Another car was coming through, and his team held him up for an extra second and a half, which I could tell he looked frustrated. But then when he saw, I forgot which car it was that blew past him, he kind of did like okay, like they were looking out one time, like they were yesterday. So again, similar situation. He did it right. Max did it wrong. And in the essence for Antonelli, it saved, like you said, it saved his team potential injury, which I think is great.
And I will give Max this, like, when it happened, it's not like he blamed Kimi. It's not like he immediately was frustrated with his pit crew. Like, he knew, like, that was on them, and that was frustrating. So I was like, okay, that's good. You would have expected Max to have been like, well, that was Kimi's fault, or like, no, that wasn't fair. But I was like, no, he understood it was not Kimi's fault, and he knew who to blame, so he did that. And Red Bull just had struggles with pits, like they had bad pit stops. Yuki got the penalty in the feature race in his pit lane. It was just, something is going on with Red Bull's pit stops, which used to be phenomenal when they were at their peak, and now maybe it is losing all these people. But this is another week where they have some kind of issue in the pit lane, and now it's kind of like you're just throwing away points. And I mean, for Max, it got him from having a couple points to all the way finishing last out of all the drivers that finished.
We don't talk about we talk about some of the higher up changes on some of these teams, because they sometimes come frequently, sometimes they don't. The ones that don't come frequently are those kind of guys, right? The pit crew, the development guys, the guys that are, the guy who holds the right rear tire so that the other guy can take it. Those little things take years to develop that chemistry where you can double stack it like McLaren did and get both of them out of there in under 5 seconds total. That sometimes, if you have one new guy that can throw you off by a couple tenths of a second, which could be a difference. In this case, it feels like there's a lot more turnover where a lot of guys are in new spots and they're having to learn this in real time. And that is what's causing some of these issues because they're in positions they haven't had to deal with before.
Speaking of being in positions they haven't had to deal with before, I think obviously Max has been the young kid trying to go at Lewis, and then eventually he overtakes him, and then he's dominating the sport. And now he's got young kids in better cars going after him. Not really been in this position. And the entirety of Red Bull, which includes Max, has just resorted to snitching on everybody. It's getting annoying. I'm like, y'all need to stop. I know
Snitching
you're
after the
frustrated.
race.
I know the car isn't what you want it to be, but stop it. They were fussing. Did you hear him? He was like, "Oh, George didn't lift on a yellow flag. Mind your business. Just please mind your own business." It is so annoying. Like, and apparently went on after the race for a while. Where George, I think I even heard that George went to Red Bull and was like, "Hey, what is happening? Like, what are y'all doing right now?" Like, the telemetry shows that I did lift. Some people lifted even less than I did. So are we going to penalize the entire grid? Like, what is this going on? And it's just like constant. And I think this entire weekend, Max made, and again, the pit stop where he hit Kimi, that wasn't on him. So absolving him of all of that. Apart from that, I think he was like, the stewards were, I don't know if you just don't get penalties when you're a new dad. I don't know if that's what it is, but it looked like he was over his pit box. It looked like he impeded Lance Stroll, which, I mean, it's Lance Stroll, I don't care. But like, he impeded him during a qualifying session. It looks like he should have had a penalty in his battle with Lando because he drove him straight off the track, which is just not what you're supposed to do. And like,
He was over the line for the start.
yeah. And I'm just like, they just kept saying it's fine. And then Red Bull respond by continuing to snitch on other people. I'm like, do you realize all the shit that you've already gotten away with? Why are you snitching? But it's just like, that mindset bothers me from that team so much, because this is just what they do.
Yeah, I don't get why they feel they need to be this way, because like you said, they have shown over the last 5 years that they are very good, that they don't need all that, right? Like, say for like maybe a race here and there, but they're not in the details business. They just are 2 years removed from being where kind of McLaren is right now and just dominating every single race. So they don't need to have these, oh, this guy did this guy did that, especially when, as you mentioned, they're getting away with so much, or the FIA is like, yeah, he was over the line, but what do you want us to do about it, right? Like, that sort of thing, where we're kind of like, wait, so we just had this whole episode a week ago or 2 weeks ago where, was it Lando was like, you know, barely over the line, and he got like 10 seconds,
and Max snitched immediately,
and
Lando's
Max
over his
snitched on
line
him on that, and now he's in the same position, and the FIA is like, well, that's not something we can do. They're filing stuff after the race to try and get the race reclassified. Maybe some of the karma was that there was a safety car with like 3 laps left in the sprint race, so that when he was getting his 10-second penalty, he would have, you know, if it was the normal part of the race, he probably would have only dropped like 2 or 3 spots. Instead, he drops all the way to 17th because everybody gets the bunch back up.
I mean, everyone kept snitching on Mercedes, because I know Albon was saying at one point after qualifying, he was like, no, that doesn't make sense. Like, Kimi's on pole. No, something's up with that Mercedes. There's no way they're that quick. And I was like, what is this, 2020 again? Like, we're back in 2020 where everyone's just like looking at Mercedes like, there's no way they could be doing that. They got to be cheating. And it's like, nope, apparently everything was good. And why are we all snitching, including Alex Albon? He's not absolved for this. He was snitching just as much as Red Bull was.
He's been on one this year, man. I don't know what's going on with him. He has been on one, but honestly, finished 5th. That's a great finish for Williams. So like, I was excited about that. All right, I think, Kyle, you just brought up Mercedes, and I do think I want to talk about them before we get to like Max versus the McLarens. I think that's like the big storyline coming out, and then maybe the storyline below that is Ferrari struggles. So let's deal with Mercedes right now. I was wrong. I like to admit that when I am, and I am. I thought Mercedes would struggle because of that tire heating issue. I think usually when it's hot, they have struggled. Last year, we saw it routinely. When it was cooler conditions, they were good. Apparently, they fixed that. Now, not fixed it enough to not be 30 seconds away from the McLarens, but certainly to be on the podium. George getting another 3rd place podium, and Kimi, as we mentioned, all he did in the sprint race, getting pole, and he qualified quickly as well. So, like, I'm kind of loving this from Mercedes because it's a little bit unexpected. We thought we were going to have a McLaren versus Ferrari. I mean, now it's looking like McLaren's versus Max versus maybe Mercedes at some point.
Yeah, and I wonder if part of the reason why their tires were able to hold up was the rain and everything being a little bit cooler down in Miami. Like, if it was just a normal human Miami day, would it have changed? But obviously, there's rain in the sprint race, so that definitely cooled the track down. Then it helps with qualifying, get to the main race, and there was like threats of rain and cloud coverage. So I do wonder how much of the normal Florida weather played a role in it, in that it didn't make the track as hot as it could have been. But it was still good enough. Like, George comfortably was third. Max was gaining him at the end, but it was more George managing his tires, which, again, George is really good at that. So he did pretty well. I don't know. I mean, whether it was just the McLarens being ridiculously supercharged, but you can't complain if you're Mercedes. The tires held up. Thanks weather, thanks rain, thanks Florida weather. Who knows?
So for those of you out there who cannot see Kyle, I'm just going to go through a couple of numbers right here. Mercedes in the Constructors' Championship is second with 141 points. That is 134 points more than Alpine, who is a ninth with just 7 points. That, André, you see it. That's that emanation coming from the shoulders of Kyle. That's confidence.
It is.
It's confidence in his Mercedes team. Nothing but confidence. And I think the confidence is, yeah, some of these struggles that they had last year, they seem to have so far figured them out. Now, obviously, things can change throughout the season, but right now, I mean, the rain didn't cool anything off. Anyone who's been to Miami and seen it rain or have been in the rain knows that it just makes things warmer and more stickier and more humid. So the fact that they were able to withstand that and have a pretty decent strategy to get those cars as high up as they did, like you said, being within 30 seconds of McLaren right now seems like a win. So the fact that he was able to do that, hold off Verstappen in the process, have Antonelli qualify on pole, finish seventh in the sprint because of the kind of the issue, and then also sixth in the main race. Like, they're doing well. And I think the question was always going to be, can Antonelli keep Mercedes up there? Because Russell was going to get his points. It, just like everything else, is a question of whether the second driver can do the same. And Antonelli has held his own and then some. So that's where that confidence is coming from. And it feels like as a team, they're getting better every single race, which could make for a nice run to end this season. But yeah, I think they're at least they may not be fully involved in the race for drivers, but they're sticking around. And I think the longer they stick around, the more they can maybe chip away at that lead.
And this is what I'm excited to see them do. Like, if they keep improving, because at first in the sprint race, like, George was like hating the car. Like, he was like, this doesn't work. I have no grip. I'm all over the place. And they got it together. It's almost like a la Red Bull, when like Max complains about the car and then suddenly he's on pole. But, it's like they got the car together for Sunday, and he gets on the podium where he looked nowhere close to the podium in the previous session. So I love that aspect of it too. And I think if they can start battling with Max and Red Bull, that gives us another fun, like, little dynamic, because we know the history between George and Max isn't exactly all that rosy. So that would be very fun to see some of their on-track battles. But I also want to talk about Kimi again, just real quick. That kid is fun. Not only is he fast as hell, like, what is that? What's the logo for like the old? This is so gonna date me, but whatever. The logo on like cassette tapes. Remember, like, the blank ones where a dude is like in the couch.
Oh, the Maxell.
Like, getting blown back.
Uh-huh.
It's like as soon as he gets in the car, that's what he does, and he doesn't stop doing that until it's over. Like, he just goes, because some of those lines he was taking, I don't even know what those were. He wasn't on the typical racing line. You would see him off the racing line. And I'm like, Kimi, what are you doing? And it's like he's trying to turn every corner into a straight line. He is so much fun on the track. And I think, like, during races, in terms of race pace, he's got a little bit to figure out. Qualifying, like 1 lap pace, he's great. He already got a pole. And I'm excited to see what happens in the next session, because it's in Italy, a really fast track coming up. But, like, if he can get consistent with his race pace and hanging on to tires, which is a lot to learn. I mean, Oscar had that issue, and we're still not 100% sure that that's solved by clean air, but will it be solved if he's not out in front? I don't know. But where Kimi is at right now, He's just an extremely exciting prospect. And we knew he was from all of the rhetoric around him, but now we're seeing it, and that's what's really fun.
If he had any nerves, it was transferred to his dad, because his dad was all over the place. It was very adorable. Like when he got pole, he was kind of running around hugging as many people as possible. And when he hugged his son, like Kimi was kind of like, yeah, Dad, I got first. Cool. Like, we'll start first. And then the next day, I think they asked him right before, they're like, well, how do you feel? And Kimi's like, I mean, it's a new position for me, but I'm going to, give it my all and see what I can do. And then his dad was like, I'm so nervous. I just keep pacing. And you're like, I get it, Dad. I feel you. But that, I mean, again, he's not behaving like a rookie. And I think that's what Mercedes wanted and needed. And so far, that's what they've got.
And I will give a shout out to Ollie Behrman, because I feel like Ollie's the same way when the actual race happens, where I know, André, you mentioned in chat, it's like, wait, what do you mean Ollie's suddenly like up in the points here? Like he started in 19th. And Ollie's another one where it feels like he just finds a way to get better and better as the race goes on. And it's great to see like some of these rookies be able to handle it. Like Isaac's done a pretty solid job. I think we all went in thinking out of all the rookies, he would probably perform the worst just because we didn't know as much about him, but he's doing pretty well. Bortoletto's just got a crap car. I can't do anything about that. Lawson is whatever. Jack Doohan is going to get replaced at this point. But with Ollie, it's like, oh, we also see like his talent shine through as well. And it's really cool to see like the rookies being able to go in. The feature race was not kind to the rookies, but at the very least, we know there is talent and they're going to be here for a while. Like this feels like the next generation where they're going to be here like 10, 15, potentially 20 years if they want to.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I do love it. I wish Ollie wouldn't have had that engine issue where he said like everything's down. Like when he say I've lost everything, it was great. But yeah, I wish he wouldn't have had that issue, because all of a sudden, he started at the bottom, at the back. I don't know what's going on sometimes with him in qualifying, but all of a sudden, you get like 5 laps into the race and like Ollie's up to 16th already. You're like, damn, what happened? And so it would have been cool to see how much further up he could have gotten, because he's done it before. And if he can get his qualifying right and then start making some of those passes, so you're not just passing like 3 or 4 cars to get to 16th, maybe you're passing 3 or 4 cars to get to like 8th. That would be really cool. So I kind of want to see that. But of course, like you said, these are rookie drivers and they're learning, and Kimi has a better car than Ollie, but we also see that Haas can do some things, especially depending on the track. So I'm excited about that. I think we need to talk about Max versus the McLarens. Let's start with the first instance. Yeah. Max versus Lando. Let's break it down into 3 different battles. So there's Max versus Lando 1, then there's Max versus Oscar, and then we get a rematch of Max versus Lando. So let's deal with Max v Lando 1. Kyle, what was your thought of that as you were watching it go? Right now you're shaking your head, so I think I know where this is going.
Have you not learned a single thing, Lando? Like, have we not learned anything? How do we have this happen again? How have you not figured this out? I don't understand it. That was probably the difference between Lando possibly winning or not. Like, Lando's battle with Max was what stopped him from winning. And we'll talk about the second battle between Max and Lando. But it was just, again, you just sit there and you're just like, dude, how does this happen every single? It's like the Houston Rockets playing the Golden State Warriors. Like, how have you not figured this team out? You keep losing to them in excruciating, painful ways. And you don't learn your lesson. Yeah, and it just makes me want to bang my head against the wall sometimes. But then I'm also like, see, this is why no one likes you.
But Buddy Hield all of a sudden going off in a game 7 is a hilarious way to lose a series. It's very, very funny. Donald, what were your thoughts? Because I hear you, Kyle, but also I've got to say some things about Max. But Donald, go ahead.
I'm just looking forward to when we do our Drive to Survive recap, because you haven't even officially told us your take on Lando, but I already know that it has aged like spoiled milk. Like, it has aged quite tremendously in the last 24 to 48 hours. Again, he just has to, I don't know what his mindset is when he goes up against Max specifically, but whatever that mindset is, he needs to take it out back and light it on fire, because it doesn't work. I think that's the long and short of it is he knows that it's almost like a mental block. And if you think about basketball terms, of course, I grew up a Pistons fan. The Pistons, we talk about when we compare ourselves to the Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan, right? Michael Jordan did not have to get past the Celtics to win a title. He did not have to get past the Lakers to win a title. He just had to get past the Pistons when the Pistons were done. The Pistons, to get to their point, basically took 8 years to get past those other two teams, and they beat the Bulls for like 4 straight years. They had this mental block that they said, we need to get past this team before we can even worry about this. And right now, his final Bowser Castle boss is Max, and he hasn't figured that out. And it's taking too long for him to do it because as he tries to figure that out, here comes his teammate who's like, you guys deal with that. I'll be over here in first place. And Piastri has figured it out somehow, or he has the same mindset that he just applies to all drivers. Lando has a specific mindset that he applies only to Max, and because of that, it's holding him back.
I think this whole thing, Max should have got a penalty for this. Like, I get it. This is what Max does. But we have also seen, like, especially toward the second half of last year, the stewards were starting to be like, all right, we're on to you. Like, we're not going to allow you to do these things anymore. I hate this style of driving because basically you're just like about to, you either crash into another car or they get out of your way. And Lando did what he was supposed to do. Max covers him off quickly, gets right in front of him and guns it towards the first turn. And then he locks up. And then Lando says, okay, I'm going to go down on the inside now because you locked up. And then Max comes back. I mean, that car is just sliding around on the track, just sliding. And he just goes, like, basically turns the car and almost like jabs at Norris with his car to push Norris off the track. That ain't racing to me. Like, no, this is not what I want to see. I want to see wheel-to-wheel racing. I think it's fun. Like, maybe we'll talk about Carlos Sainz and Lewis Hamilton at the last turn, at the turn 17, which was very funny because I was like, Carlos, what are you doing? But like, they were like the wheel, like Carlos's wheel was like rubbing on Lewis's wheel and side pod. So like, I don't mind contact. I don't mind when drivers get close. That's entertaining. That's fun. And this was not fun. And I think Max's whole thing is driving to a rule book as opposed to driving his car like as a person, as a human being in a car with other people on track that are driving cars that are also human beings. Like, this is what I get so frustrated about with him and his particular driving style, because like there's no way this shouldn't have been a penalty. And I don't know why it wasn't, because he was out of control. He did not have the angle on the corner that he thought he had. And the only reason that he ended up making it is because he was either going to make that turn or he was going to T-bone the shit out of Lando. That's not, like, Lando has every right to be on the track where he is, and you push him off. That's not supposed to be allowed. But we're playing this game where, like, you just have to get to a certain part of the corner and then you get the entirety of the corner. And when you allow it to be that, yeah, Max is going to be as out of control as he needs to be. He's going to gun it up the side of the car just to say, oh, go ahead and print out the screenshot, Christian Horner. If they try to give me a penalty, get your screenshot ready. I was ahead. It's bullshit. It's absolutely bullshit. It's playing to the referees, and I hate it.
The one thing about it is the way to combat that, as you kind of mentioned, is to put a car up his ass. That's how you do it. But the problem is McLaren knows they can't do that because, one, that's a $30 million car. But also
the points.
It costs them points,
yes,
right? And the standings that they desperately need against this guy. And that's where they don't have another team to come through and be like, hey, yo, get my mans for me. Like, to put a car up his ass and let him understand that he can't do this no more, because there's nobody there that's really helping, and they can't sacrifice him and Piastri to make that happen. I mean, maybe they can. They have 100 point lead on everybody right now, so maybe they can do this one time. But that's the problem, is Max knows that, and so Max is like, y'all ain't gonna do nothing. So what? So okay, and the stewards aren't gonna do nothing. They can give me 5 seconds. Cool, give me 5 seconds. But I still got the corner. I still got the space, and I still got the position back. So that is the problem. There's somebody that needs to be able to step to Max and go, I don't care about the points. I will put my car right into yours, take both of us about this race, and then you're going to understand that you can't do that anymore.
And that's where I'm kind of, because Max did the same thing to Lewis. Like, Max would do the same thing. He even said one time, well, he's out as well. So, like, it's fine. Like, I may be out, but he's also out. So that doesn't hurt me in the title chance. And it was like, after the race, Lando was just like, well, what can I do? If I went for it, people are going to complain. If I don't go for it, people are going to complain. And like with Max, you have to be perfect. And I wasn't good enough today. I was like, dude, go out there and be like, yeah, Max was wilding out there and he needs to stop doing that. And then Lando should have been like, the steward should have done something. Like, Max keeps doing this. Why does he keep getting away? Like, that's the thing. Like, I just want to see Lando at least be like, what the F? What the fuck? Like, he can go, like, why is he not trying to snitch his way? Why is he not trying to make a pleading case? And it's just more of the, if you want to get past this guy, yes, you might have to take yourself out. That's fine. But you need to show Max that you do not care what happens. You're not going to continue doing this to me. You are not going to continue bullying me. You have to step up to the bully. And right now, Lando is hoping that the stewards are like, it's like the teacher at recess. You hope that the teacher does something, but the teacher is not looking. They're not paying that much attention. You need to go do it. And you know what? If you take him out and it takes you out, that's fine. Zach Brown's probably going to be like, this was Lando's fault. We know Zach Brown will go bat for Lando. So, like, you have someone there that will also be in your corner, like Christian Horner is with Max, like Toto sometimes is with Mercedes. I mean, hell, even James Vowles will go to bat for his guys at Williams.
But Zach Brown didn't. He was on Sky Sports being interviewed for like 15 laps, and he didn't say shit about it, right? Like, and that was, again, if I'm him, I'd be like, hey guys, I gotta take this call because this just happened, and I'm not gonna do this on TV, but I'm gonna do this on the phone over here with FIA. Holla back at like lap 20, and then we can chat. He didn't do that. He just kind of talked about the strategy and stuff like that. And I know he was on TV, so it's hard to just blab your mouth, right? But he has to be in a situation where he knows that the team is going to step up and have his back. And Zach Brown has to be the first guy there, just like Horner's there printing out copies of TPS reports for everybody. So it's bad. I mean, they have to fight. That just because they're ahead doesn't mean that they have the driver's seat, right? That's still Max. Max is still the champion. And for them to win this, they have to go after him and make him in a situation where he's worried about Mercedes and not about McLaren. And McLaren just does not have that fight or dog as a team. Piastri does, but Piastri's answer to all this is just let me win by 30 seconds. Which has kind of been the rate this year, and that's working for him. But for Lando, if he thinks he's going to be this champion, he needs to fight for it. It's not going to be given to him.
Yeah, I hear y'all, and I do agree. Like, I do want to get to the Drive to Survive review because I do feel like I need to say the thing and I need to say about Lando because I like. Yeah, there's a lot to say there. And I agree, like the mindset thing, he's got to understand, like we were saying last season, he's got to understand who he's up against. Y'all are friends. Y'all ain't friends no more. I'm sorry. Like, you'll find another friend, find somebody to replace Max because like he's got a kid now anyway. Y'all ain't going to be hanging out. So it doesn't even matter. Like replace that friendship with something else because on track, he is trying to like, he's trying to take you out. Like it's plain and clear what he's doing. So let's also go to the other two battles because I think it was you, Kyle, who said that this cost Lando the win. And I definitely think like if Lando gets in the lead there, yeah, we saw what Piastri did when he was in the lead. Like it's a wrap. But I actually think that it's the second battle that is the worst one for me because to me, Max is at fault for everything that happened. He just wasn't punished for it. So I think in a fair and just kind of world, Max gets a penalty for that. And then you kind of fix some of that issue, maybe not in that particular race, but certainly in the future. But now as it stands, we're going to see it again, I'm sure. But Oscar was behind Max, had to find his way past Max. It did take him a while, but basically what I love about Oscar is just his calm, how he was just kind of reading Max, saying what you're going to do, where you're going to put your car. Okay, I see it. And then you saw him, it was like 3 or 4 turns of a setup, and then he made the move. And the move was great. It was like Max he kind of just forced Max to go deep. Max locked up and he was like, all right, now I've got the position. So it was just like forcing Max into a mistake, which I loved. I thought it was a brilliant piece of driving. Whereas Lando, this is where I get frustrated with Lando because I'm like, dude, you know how that, like you told us last year at the end, like I learned a lot this season. I'm ready to challenge. Like I want a driver's championship. Like I'm ready to go. And every single time we've seen you in a battle with Max or anybody else, you're doing weird stuff. So what have you really learned? And this is where I get frustrated with him because it took him way too long. Now, I do think that Oscar had such a lead and was managing his tires so much that even though the gap was coming down toward the end of the race, I think that's by design. I think a lot of people see that in just about any race, and you're like, oh, if there were 5 more or 10 more laps, he would have got him. I think the car in front has the advantage of clean air, does not need to push as hard like Lando at Singapore last year when he hit the wall when he was leading so much. Like, take it easy. Don't do anything stupid. Don't take any unnecessary risks. Manage the gap behind you. Keep your tires fresh, and you're good. You're good to win this race. That's what I think Oscar was doing, as opposed to just not performing on the same level as Lando. But still, I think if Lando is able to get past Max, and instead of it taking 3, 4, 5 laps for him to do it, and then he passed him and then had to give the position back, or he thought it was best to get the position back. His team didn't even tell him to do that. I think it was smart by him to do that anyway, but still, it cost him even more time doing that. I think maybe then you get your battle that like Zach Brown seems to want, which surprised me. He was like, oh, the battle that everybody wants to see. And I was like, okay, so you're one of us. You understand. Like, I do want to see Lando and Oscar go at it. But yeah, I know, right? I'm like, okay, you're wearing the papaya, but you're one of us. So it's kind of impressive, but I do want to see that. And I think Lando, in this mental block he has against Max, really prevented us from getting that in this race.
Yeah, I would agree. It was like with his battle against Lewis, where it's like, okay, you really are wasting time, and that's why. And would Lando have won the race if he got past Max sooner? Probably not. But you put yourself in a better position where now you are forcing Zach Brown to decide, like, are we going to let him fight or what's going to happen? At that point, it was kind of like, yeah, he's gaining, but he was burning through those sides. He was putting in all the work that was necessary. So it's just it was just more, for me, that's why I said it was like, you wasted 3, 4 laps doing this. And if you had just done this in a lap or two, you wouldn't even have been in the position where you overtook him, but then you decided to give it back, which again, probably a smart choice. And then he was able to get it back shortly after. So there was at least something there. But again, why is it taking you so long to make these moves that should have happened a lap or two earlier? And we saw that with Oscar. It did not take him that long. It took a couple turns, and Oscar's like, okay, I'm going to go get this lead now.
When Piastri took the lead, I think 4 laps later, it was at 8.5 seconds. Like,
yep,
he passed Max, and he was like, gotta go. See you later, dog. And he was out. And that's what, I'm sure that's what Zach Brown thinks Lando can do, but that is exactly what we have not seen him do. And even when they were 1-2, there's a point where I think Lando kind of said like, oh, I'm catching up to him. And like, everyone was looking at the time gap. They're like, you are not. It's still 8-9 seconds. It might be down to 7, but like, this race is going to end, and you are going to be in second place, and that is fine, because your teammate is first. Is fine. But Oscar just has like a no frills like type of approach to it, where he's just like, I need to get past him. I'm going to try and be as efficient as possible in doing it. And once I do, my car is faster than his, and I'm gone. And that was very methodical by him. And I think that's kind of why I'm starting to like him a little bit more. He's a little bit kind of a cyborg, but like a likable one, in the sense that he's just like, I just want to drive. But he also knows that he can't waste time. And so that's his mentality. I can't waste time on this guy. I got to get past him. Once the first lockup happened, boom, took that move and he was gone. And I think that's what Lando needs to learn how to do against other drivers.
I was just rewatching Oscar's pass. It's so good, man. I want everybody to go back and watch this. I might have to put it in the show notes, because he uses the DRS to go up on the outside, because he saw like Max's whole thing is, I'm going to defend the inside. Like, I'm placing my car on the inside to make it hard for you to pass me. You have to go around a lot more track if you go around the outside. So I'm going to do that. So he uses DRS to get up alongside Max on the outside. Then when the turn comes, Oscar brakes hard, because he knows Max is going to go too deep, because he's trying to protect that so he doesn't give the space on the outside. He knows this is how Max races. He's not going to give me space on the outside. He's going to push me off the track. All he's trying to do is get to that quote apex part so I can be like, oh, I got my rear wing ahead or whatever. Like, the corner's mine. And Oscar just said, okay, go ahead and run deep. I'm going to cut, I'm going to brake early, and I'm going to cut right underneath you. It is masterful. And it's exactly what you need to do to a driver like Max, where you know exactly what he's trying to do, and you use that against him. And it just took Lando. I don't think Lando's done it once. I mean, I think when Lando finally passed him, it was like a DRS pass anyway. It was just like, all right, I'm going to get by you now. So yeah, all right. We are running a little bit late because a lot happened in this race, and there's a lot to talk about. And I do feel like we need to get to Ferrari. Not a whole lot to say here, except Lewis is hilarious.
We're like, oh man,
right? We're all sad. Personally, I think I'm just more entertained. I think I would be more sad if like the car was a podium like capable car, and Leclerc was consistently getting on podiums, and Lewis was like 6th or 7th. I think I'd be real sad. But since this car is just bad and both of them are struggling, it's just kind of giving us entertainment. So you have, which I thought Ferrari was really dumb in this race, by the way. Like the strategy, we've given them credit before, but this was silly. You know, Lewis was on an offset strategy. So he started with the hard tires and then went to mediums, which was the fastest tire. That was the optimal tire for this track in this race. And then, Leclerc started on the medium and then went to the hard. So after the pits, Lewis, just by tire offset, the type of tires they have, is going to be faster. So he's behind Leclerc. And they're both trying to chase Kimi Antonelli, who's got like at the time, what was it, like a 5 or 6 second lead, something like that. And Lewis is like, all right, can I pass to try and go chase Kimi? And they were like, we'll get back to you. We'll get back to you. What are you talking about? We're in the middle of a race. What are you talking about? We'll get back. It's like, well, give us 3 to 5 business days. Like this was
VAR decision.
Right. This was so weird. And then of course that pisses off Lewis and he's upset. His radio messages were just hilarious. He told him, why don't you have a tea break while you're at it? Like, just extremely hilarious. And then they finally make the decision. By that time, he's not only used up laps from those tires, he's also been behind his teammate in his DRS the entire time because he's not trying to actually like pass him because he wants the order to come through instead of being like, okay, now I'm going to have to just race my teammate. And so now they're overheated as well. So he passes late, and then all of a sudden his tires don't have that advantage anymore because he wasted it behind Leclerc. And now Leclerc's tires are there, and he's like, all right, can I have the position Lewis has? And they're like, yeah, we're going to swap you. But they don't tell Lewis. So they didn't say anything to Lewis until then Lewis is like, okay, whatever. So Leclerc's like, hey, he didn't move out of the way. They're like, oh, our bad. We forgot to tell Lewis. And so then Lewis gets out of the way. By that time, Leclerc had messed up his window for his tires to maybe go and catch Kimi. And Lewis is pissed off because they basically wasted his opportunity, and now it looks like he has to pass his teammate for no reason. And so then his engineer tells him, okay, Carlos is 1.4 behind, and he says, oh, you want me to let him pass too?
That was my favorite.
Also, it was like Sainz was there the whole time, right? Because when they did the first pass, like Leclerc's like, you guys didn't tell me Carlos is right here. He's been here this whole time. It's like the in basketball where team has a huddle, and like Draymond Green's like in the huddle with them, and they're like, Draymond, what are you doing? Get out of here.
It was just one, and it was like funny because they both passed Carlos, so they should have known, like, oh yeah, Carlos is here, and it was at the end of the race as well. Carlos is all of a sudden like Carlos is battling Lewis and makes contact. So it's like, wait, when did you get here? How long have you been just standing in the corner?
I will say after the race, one thing I was concerned about because of all the radio chatter between the two was that they were upset at each other, and that happens, right? That's going to happen. It's racing. You know, teammates are gonna get some moments where they have to air it out. But after the race, like immediately when they jumped out of the car, they both kind of like put their hands on each other's backs, and it was clear that they're like, yo, our team, like our garage messed that up. Like what we were doing was exactly what we were supposed to be doing. We were getting orders, yada, yada, yada. But like we could have probably finished a lot higher if we had gotten a better strategy out of this thing. But I think at least that's what felt like their mindset. So for everyone who was like worried, like I don't feel like you need to worry about the two of them. But I think together they said, let's take our anger out in the garage in the paddock and tell these people like, yo, we need to come up with something better than this.
Well, it's funny because Lewis and like the media stuff after race, he was like, yeah, it happens. We're fine. And it's like Lewis is just like calm. All of a sudden I was like, are you good? Like, I don't know. But for me, it was just frustrating because it's like, okay, if you're not going to have a good enough car, whatever. can you at least just have a competent strategy then? So then there's not this whole issue of your car sucks and you're incompetent with strategy. Like, pick a struggle. Either have a struggle with the car or a struggle with strategy. Don't do both. And you went with both, and it just looks like amateur hour. And again, why is Ferrari not able to do 2 consecutive races of good strategy?
And they were going to come in, if you think about the sprint, right? Lewis is coming in. They said, hey, Lewis, box for medium tires. He goes, soft, man, soft. Yeah. And they like, copy, like as they were doing the whole time. But he was basically like, no, you're trying to put me in medium tires. Get the sauce on. That's what's going to win this thing. And of course, he boosts all the way to 3rd place. And everyone was like, oh, if they had gone with the mediums, he wouldn't have had that juice. And so, again, that's like them messing that strategy up and him kind of overruling them. And during the race, he knows he can't do that as much because there's a little bit more involved and a lot, it goes up a little bit higher. But even that, he had to have that quick thinking to be like, wait, what are y'all talking about? Medium tires? Like, that's not getting it done here. We got 8 laps left. Give me soft so I can go, try and make a run. And he was the best driver, I thought, during the sprint, despite the fact he only finished 3rd.
Were it not for the safety car, he would have gotten 2nd easily.
Yep.
Yeah, I think my thing with like Charles and Lewis are very reasonable people. Like I think I appreciate them both, and I think they understand what the issue actually was. And so yes, it was strategy issues, but I think their ultimate thing is it doesn't even matter because the car sucks. Like that's really it. The car sucks. The car deserved to be behind both Williams cars. They got lucky and they got in between the Williams cars. But like that car is not good. It did not perform well, especially in the Grand Prix. Like Lewis's podium on the sprint, like you just said, Donald, it was all about Lewis making that call, which the team didn't even want to do at first. Like they were going to put, like you said, they're going to put him on mediums. So if he doesn't make that call at the time that he did, which by the way, the reason he made that call and said pit me early is because they sucked on the enters. Like he was going nowhere. They were pulling away from him, and he was like, oh, well, I might as well gamble. And if I'm going to gamble, put the softs on these bad boys. Let's go. And I think if you can do that in a sprint race and get on the podium. It's hard to do that over 57 laps of a Grand Prix. Like you can't make one decision and all of a sudden you're going to be, get yourself to a podium when the car is not worthy of a podium. Like you really need a lot to go your way for that to happen. Shout out to Alpine in Brazil. But like, I don't think that happened. And of course, with no rain actually falling on the track during the Grand Prix, there was just no other way to do it. And so while I do think they could have gotten close enough to try and like put pressure under Kimi to see if he maybe makes a bit of a mistake or gives them a way to get another position, I don't think those 2 cars were good at all. And I think they kind of finished where they deserved to finish, which is the more frustrating thing for Ferrari. All right, we have like 15 minutes left before we have some hard outs. So should we take a break and then do accountability corner? Because I feel like
some accountability.
I'm not gonna
yeah.
All right, let's do it. Accountability corner. It's going to be a struggle for me because I was kind of anti-Mercedes in the preview, and turns out they're okay. So Kyle, you had Oscar, you had Max, you had George. Not bad. Only Lando being 2. That's the only thing you missed. Ebony had Oscar, George, and Lewis. Definitely not Lewis. He was not close. Donald, you had Lando, Charles, and Oscar. So 2 of the 3, but 1 being a Ferrari. Nope. I had Oscar, Lando, and Max. I was so close. Constructors. Again, caveat with the constructors, we said that you can't pick the team with the most points and the team with the least points. Most points would be McLaren, least points would be Sauber. Kick Sauber still for now until they're Audi next season. Kyle, you said Mercedes.
Nailed it.
You're right. Ebony said Mercedes. She was right. Donald, you and I said Ferrari. We are very wrong.
We're taking the walk of shame on that one.
Yeah, not good. If Deepti would have put something in there, I think she might have said Williams, and she might have actually been more right this time around. When she had her belief in Williams, it was a little bit premature, but they looked good all of a sudden. Least points, Kyle, you said Alpine.
Yeah, see that double podium in Brazil is going to trickle. It scammed a lot of people, including that was a scam.
It wasn't just all right. We're not going to get into it. Ebony said Haas, so probably right. Donald, you said Aston Martin. Yeah,
I was close, but Lance Stroll got points in the sprint.
he did, which was very weird.
I didn't foresee that.
Well, so here's the Lance Stroll / Strulovich experience. He got points in the sprint, and then in the Grand Prix, his teammate spun his car around, and Lance still finished below him. So how the hell does that work?
You know,
Adrian Newey, there's still time, man. Come to death row.
Ferrari needs you, Adrian. Come on.
The thing with Lance Strulovich's sprint, it was also helped that 3 cars did not finish.
Correct.
It was helped that Max Verstappen got the penalty. It was helped that there was a safety car. So there was still a lot that needed to go his way.
And after the race, like I think we talked about this, it was like when they were doing qualifying for the race for the Grand Prix, they announced like, oh, by the way, like 6 guys got 5-second penalties, like well after the race. So here's the new order. And I was like, Stroll is 5th? Like how Stroll was like 11th when all this happened. And all of a sudden he vaults to get points. I'm going to take it as a like 85% win. Because
I would still call that a win considering
wins.
how bad the feature race was. I'd call that.
Yeah. I think so too, because still we are a quarter of the way into the season and Lance Stroll has all of Aston Martin's points. What the hell is going on? All right, let's go to Zoomy and Gloomy Boys. I'm going to recap our predicted Zoomy and Gloomy Boys, and then we'll give our actual, and then we'll get out of here. Kyle, you had Yuki as a Zoomy boy, and you had Lando as a Gloomy boy. You might be half right.
I was wrong on the Yuki part. It looked promising in the sprint. He made his way up. I was like, okay, but no, he did not have a good feature race. He got the penalty. It was not a good Yuki premier race. Lando, I'm still sticking with he was a Gloomy boy because of the first lap incident with Max and then struggling to get past him. I'm sticking. It's not a complete win, but it's not as bad of a loss as it could have been.
Yeah, and I think he was disappointed that he didn't win the race. And I think, like you said, he had 2 opportunities to do so. And both of the times he was kind of foiled by Max. One illegally, in my opinion, but the second time was all on him. So I do think that he did cost himself there. So it makes sense. Even though you finished P2, your teammates getting all the credit doing a very awful Griddy after the race.
Did you see Justin Jefferson try to teach it to him? And after 40 seconds, like he was like, yeah, man, you got it. Like,
here's my
practice
thing.
That.
Here's my thing. Black people and athletes and everything, just black people, period. Please stop trying to teach white people how to dance. It doesn't go well. It just doesn't go well. They're usually not. If they have it in them, it's so niche that you would have seen it already. And
out of all the drivers, like Oscar is not the one that's going to be able. Like, I can't think of many other drivers that would be more rigid and stiff doing it than Oscar.
Right. Yeah.
Which also is what makes it funny.
It is what makes it funny because he has when he finally stops, like his rear leg just like donkey kicks back, and I'm just like, yo, that's not part of it at all.
I didn't know it was the Griddy that he was like so eloquently taught the day before. Like I thought it was just something that he did, and someone was like, he hit the Griddy, and I go, no, he did. He didn't hit the Griddy. He didn't attempt it. That's not what that is. So that's my only issue with it is that people tried to label it as the thing he learned the other day, and I was like, those are 2 separate dances.
Yeah, I mean, apparently he did say that's what he was attempting to do, but yeah, it was not
Attempting
evident.
is the right way to describe it.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
is it?
Yeah, it was not evident in practice. It was very strange. But I do appreciate that he kept a bet, and I do like that he can kind of laugh at himself as well. I think people are going too far with this like Oscar's boring thing. That's another thing I want to talk about at some point because he's not boring. That dude is funny, and that dude is ruthless on the track, and I love it. I love the combination of his dry humor and then how he is on the track. So I'm here for it. Okay, Donald. Your Zoomy boy was Checo and Cadillac, and your Gloomy boy was Pierre Gasly. So maybe you're half right / to be determined on full right.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Cadillac unveiled everything over the weekend. I thought it looked pretty cool. We didn't get the full like livery. which is cool. Like I like them leaving something for us to think about. But Gasly, he got 1 point in the sprint, but as we mentioned, it's because 97 people apparently got 5-second penalties. So he kind of vaulted into the points from there. He didn't have a great weekend. He was kind of, for lack of word, he was just kind of invisible at times during the weekend. They weren't really, it's not like they even featured him really during the race. They didn't show him racing. Like, for all we know, he could have, someone else could have been in his car. We wouldn't have known because they didn't show him actually driving at any point. But I think if I were to pick one, pick a Zoomy boy, it would be Albon, because I think Albon quietly had a really good weekend. I think Williams had a really good weekend.
Massive week. Yeah. I think they said they already have more points this year already than they had for the total of last year. One of that's upgrade to drivers, but the other is like they've done a tremendous upgrade to their car. Like that's been impressive. And apparently they're not developing the car anymore. So they're looking at 2026, but I mean, they've got a good base. And I think Carlos is like, can we have like, maybe like, can you like just include like maybe like one front wing? Like maybe can I get like a couple wings maybe? Like you don't have to do the full development on the car throughout the season, but don't give up on it yet. Like look at us, look at the performances we're capable of. So I'm feeling it. I think the sport is different and it feels different. Well, Williams is good, and I kind of like this. All right, more accountability from me. But first, I did get my Zoomy boy right. I said Oscar, which wasn't really going out on a limb, but he did win the race. The only reason he didn't win the sprint is because of a very ill-timed safety car, which just Lando and safety cars at Miami, apparently they're his thing, and he timed it right, got the advantage that he needed to get to win that race, but Oscar was second. But yeah, I think he had a tremendous weekend again, creating a little bit of gap between him and his teammate at the top of the drivers, and definitely a gap between him and Max at the top of the drivers as well. So I'm excited for Oscar and to watch him continue to develop this season. Also want to give a shout out to Kimi Antonelli for obvious reasons. We've talked about him, but that kid is just fun. So I'm like a big fan of his. All right, Kyle, damn it. My gloomy boy prediction was George Russell. I'm wrong, okay? I was wrong. The man got third place. That Mercedes looked good, much better than I thought it was going to be. I was wrong.
George just keeps finding a way to get on podiums. He does.
There's like the joke going around that like a Grand Prix happens, George Russell does nothing, P3. like I don't know how he keeps doing this, but he's there. And it's kind of impressive to see that he's just consistently there. 30 seconds behind, but doesn't matter. You're still standing on the podium in the cool down room and all of that. So shout out to George Russell, who is doing tremendous work in that Mercedes. So I'm going to have to choose an actual gloomy boy. We've talked about it. It's Lance Stroll.
Yeah.
I don't care that he has all the points for Aston Martin. Aston Martin as like an entity, as a staff, label, and crew have been awful this season. And just, again, your teammate spins on the track during the race and you still finish behind him. I just don't understand how that's possible, how that happens. They both got lapped. It's just bad all around. I don't know what Aston Martin are doing. I do know what they're doing. They're waiting for 2026, but this is just a weird way to do it. This can't be good for morale or really anybody.
In Aston Martin's defense in the sprint race, my actual gloomy boy, Liam Lawson, did take out Fernando Alonso, which did not help matters. And once again, Liam Lawson just doing shitty.
I feel like Liam Lawson is ineligible from being nominated as gloomy boy because he's going to do that every week.
I felt like this was bullying, but I couldn't think of a worse gloom. I was like, it has to be him.
Yeah.
But I was not picking him.
But also like, I feel like Aston Martin should feel like they want all the money possible to put into 2026, knowing they have an Adrian Newey, and kind of say, yo, man, here's the blank check, instead of being restricted by where they finish. It's a bold strategy, Cotton. We'll see if it pays off. But if I'm Newey, I'm sitting there like, yo, death row. Like, what are we talking about? Like,
it seems like money's not their issue. It's wind tunnel time, and that's what they really want. And I think with Adrian Newey, that's not a wrong bet. But I also think, like, you don't have to be last.
You don't have to tank.
You're
not getting the number one draft pick here.
Right. Like, this is just bad.
They can tank all they want. They still might finish ahead of Kick They still might finish ahead of Alpine, and they might finish ahead of Racing Bulls. So it's not as though they can just tank and expect, we're going to get the most wind tunnel, because there's other teams that are just as bad.
That is true. That is very, very true. They're trying hard, though. Valiant effort so far, a quarter way into the season. That pesky Lance Stroll keeps picking up points every now and then, foiling their plans. All right.
That's actually what's going to get them fired. Is no, you actually.
Right? This will be the thing that
you did not tank well enough.
It would be hilarious if this is the thing. Like as you're the most nepotism, the most nepo baby on the grid. Like your dad owns the team and everything. But the thing that gets you out of here is that you keep picking up points when we told you not to. Get out the team.
You cost me 2 hours of wind tunnel time, you dick. Get out of here.
Adrian
Go to your
Newey's
room.
like, I would like to have a little bit more wind tunnel time, but this motherfucker kept picking up points. Like,
go to your room. No more ice cream.
But Dad, I finished in the top 10 in driver points. I don't care. That doesn't
no screen
home.
for you.
Any other year, I'd be like, well done, son. But what did I tell you before we started? No points. I don't want to hear anything about penalties, crashes, safety cars. I don't care.
Look,
all these other cars are crashing, but you can't?
The last 3 years for the Pistons, we were saying, look, just be competitively terrible. Don't win the games. Get to the fourth quarter, lose by 6. A loss is still a loss. You do well. Like, Stroll, do your thing. Get 12th. Like, don't get 10th.
Yeah, don't
get 10th is not 11th, 12th. Act like you go, oh man, if I didn't have this one thing where I spun out, I would have finished with the points. Oh well, next time. Do one of those things. Instead, you're actually scoring points. Fernando apparently got whatever assignment was being given.
Oh, yeah. Fernando's bought in fully. He's like, he's like, all right, y'all say don't get any points. No, all good. Lance Stroll is over here like, Dad, I made you a picture, and he's just taking it and putting it right in the trash.
He's
like,
out for a Sunday stroll.
All right, let's get out of here. The next race is Sunday, May 18th, 9 a.m. That's at Imola, a very fun track. Can't wait to preview that one. But we do have a week break. Probably going to do, for real this time, a Drive to Survive review in which I will unleash my well-heralded and much anticipated Lando take, which Kyle is shaking his head and Donald is as well.
Oh,
so we will see what happens on that episode. But until then, I'm André for Donald and Kyle. Vroom, vroom.
Vroom, vroom.
Vroom, vroom.